Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the next instalment in our luxury e-commerce webinar series, Making the Most of Performance Max. For those of you who haven't joined us before, my name is Danielle. I'm the agency marketing manager here at Revenue Growth Agency. And today I am joined by our PPC manager and Google Ads expert, Elliot, as he walks you through kind of what is Performance Max, how you can get the most out of it for your e-commerce brand. Just before we get started, just a few housekeeping rules. So we are hoping to have some time at the end for a really quick Q&A. So if you do think of any questions, just comment on LinkedIn. We'll be able to see them here and we'll get through as many as we can if we have time at the end. If we don't have time, we'll just come back to you after the webinar's finished with a little bit more information. And you'll also be receiving a copy of the slides and a link to this recording after the webinar is finished. They'll be coming to you via LinkedIn in mail from me. So just look out for that once you're done. If you do have to leave at any point during the webinar, you're not going to miss anything. I'm going to pass you on to Elliot now. We're going to get started straight away. We've got quite a lot to get through. And yeah, Elliot, take it away.
Cheers, thank you very much, Danielle. So yeah, we'll just start by talking through kind of at a very introductory level what Performance Max actually is. So if you just flick onto the next slide, please, Danielle. So Performance Max, it was a product that was released by Google last year, and its primary purpose was to replace smart shopping campaigns. That was its primary feature, to replace those smart shopping ads, but it did actually come with some additional features, which I'll touch on throughout the presentation. So as a definition, Performance Max is a goal-based campaign type that allows performance advertisers to access all of their Google Ads inventory. So this includes search campaigns, display, discovery, video, shopping, and also maps. And it can touch all of these areas from a single campaign. So it utilizes, in a similar way that smart shopping did prior to Performance Max, so it utilizes Google's AI and smart bidding to maximize performance and deliver results against the goals that matter to you most. So in that original definition, with it being a goal-based campaign, what this means is that when you set up the campaign, you can provide Google with the goal that you want it to achieve. So whether this is driving conversions or driving lead gen, for example, you actually determine what you want the campaign to do. And then, as we touched on, in terms of smart bidding and using AI, this essentially just means that it uses Google's advanced machine learning to touch on a vast number of data and touch points that wouldn't be possible for kind of the human mind to comprehend. So it utilizes that machine learning in order to optimize your performance. And as it says at the bottom there, find more converting customers. Something that Performance Max isn't is it's not designed to directly replace all of your existing standard campaign types, but it's rather to supplement them, run alongside them in order to drive incremental performance. So moving on, in terms of when, where, and why it's best to use Performance Max. So Performance Max is the best option to use when, first of all, you have specific advertising and conversion goals. So as we touched on in the last slide, Performance Max is a goal-based campaign. So if you have a specific defined goal that you want to achieve as a business, whether this be driving online sales or lead gen, then Performance Max is a good option. It can also be used for other goals, such as even driving offline conversion, so driving footfall to sales. That's also something that we can achieve through PMax. Again, if you want to maximize the performance of your campaign and you aren't limited by which channel your ads can appear on, so with Performance Max, you do require for e-commerce advertisers anyway, require a shopping feed. This allows you to run both shopping ads and also search ads, keywords from which will be built out from your shopping feed. However, it also does mean with its advanced capabilities, you'll also be targeting the display network, and also video on YouTube. So it is important that you would need the relevant assets, at least image assets as a bare minimum. Video assets are optional, but they'll be automatically created for you if you don't have your own, and often can perform poorly. So if you have video assets available to you, as well as the image assets on a shopping feed, then Performance Max can be a perfect place for you to drive that incremental performance. It's also of use if you want to easily access all of Google's advertising channels using a single campaign. As we mentioned, the single campaign has the ability to touch all of those touch points from a single campaign. Therefore, it's going to easy management rather than having multiple campaigns for each dedicated advertising channel. And again, as we mentioned, doesn't have to be necessarily a direct replacement for your standard campaigns. So again, Performance Max is all about wanting to gain additional reach and additional conversion value on top of your current activity that you're already running. Cool. So in this next section, I'm just going to touch on 3 possible campaign structures that you may look to implement for your own businesses, starting with an entry level campaign structure. So this is a very a basic segmentation to start us off. So simply splitting our products into 2 categories: high value products and low value products. A setup like this would be relevant for clients who have either limited budget, potentially up to from £50 to £200 a day, or also if you have a particularly small product set, so we're not going to be over segmenting. Just segmenting into the 2 separate campaigns is going to ensure we have enough products in each to make sure we're getting good exposure on both of them. It's also important that you don't over segment. We need at least 50 conversions per month per campaign. So that should give you an idea if this is something that could be considered. So the benefits of this entry level, quite simple structure, is that whilst it does apply some segmentation, and it therefore allows you to kind of tailor your creative, your ad copy, and distribute your budget fairly between the 2 campaigns. As I mentioned, though, it is important not to over segment initially. As we touched on, Google's machine learning does require quite a significant amount of data. So the more data we're getting through the campaigns, the quicker it's going to learn and optimize performance for you. In terms of what high versus low value is, this is going to be different for each brand, but you could potentially define this based on profit margin per product, ROAS per product, expected revenue, or absolute sales price. Any of those variables would be a good starting place to segment your products out into high and low value. So moving on to an intermediate structure, and this is a slight variation of the structure we touched on at the entry level. So as you can see, the left column and the middle column, they're just retained from the previous slide. So these are base layer campaigns. You're still retaining your high value products and low value products in separate campaigns. As it mentions at the bottom there, it'd be ideal during this in the high value campaign to set a lower ROAS target. This is going to allow Google to be much more aggressive within the auction, and therefore push this campaign harder. and vice versa for the low value products. A higher ROAS target is going to mean that you're not going to waste too much budget on these products, but that you are achieving a ROAS target that is profitable to your business. So once you have sufficient performance data and enough conversions using the entry level structure and your spend has increased, this could be up to from a couple of £100 per day up to anything around £500 a day, just as a ballpark figure. Obviously this is going to vary from client to client, but just as a basis for that. Additional campaigns can then be added alongside your base layer structure. This is going to help us segment out the account and build it out further. For example, this could be products that are on sale or a best sellers campaign, for example. Not only is this structure going to enable the easier management of budget between campaigns, but it's also going to allow you to focus your budget on your products that give the highest returns or of the highest priority to your business. We've actually implemented a version of this on our clients and a number of our clients in the past, actually, and we've seen some really good results from it. I think one thing to note on this structure is that you're not limited to one building block, as is highlighted in the example there. So that refers to products that are on sale. The more and more data we got through, we were actually able to add multiple building blocks on top of our base layer structure. So we segmented out products that were on sale. As I mentioned, we had a best sellers campaign. We also ran a brand collaboration with a well-known luxury fashion brand. So we segmented this out into its own campaign, again allowing us to tailor our messaging and focus our budget on the campaigns that are of highest priority and give us the highest returns. And we've seen some really strong performance on the back of using this structure. And then finally, moving on to maybe a more advanced structure would be to split out your products into 4 separate categories, ranging from your best performing products. So these would be products based on your business and the targets, but it would likely be highest revenue drivers, absolute sales, price, profit. And as highlighted at the bottom there, we're going to focus up to or around 50% of the budget. Again, we're going to have a slightly lower ROAS target on this section to allow us to be aggressive and push these products that we know perform well to get the best returns from them. Just below that, we could set up a separate performance max campaigns for products that have a high potential but aren't currently performing the best. So these will be performing slightly lower than your best performing products, but they perhaps need a bit more exposure to really hit the heights and move into that best performing category. Again, we've got around 20% of the budget allocated here, as well as a variable ROAS target, so we can set that based on the performance we see once we've set the campaign live. The next one down would be low impressions. So these will be products that we have unknown or limited insights on due to low exposure. I think one of the drawbacks of the entry level structure that we touched on previously is that there may be, with there only being 2 campaigns, the vast majority of the budget is likely to be focused on the products that we know are going to perform well. So there might be a number of products that don't get that exposure and we don't have the insights on. So if we were to segment the account out further into this more advanced structure, then we could ensure we had 20% of the budget behind these low impression products, so that we're able to gain some more insights on them. Once we have that data, we could then move them into another section, either into high potential, best performing, or even worse performing if we see that they don't perform well once we get them that exposure. And then in terms of the worst performing products, so these would be products that have had a high exposure and even a high amount of spend in the past, but have driven limited conversions or revenue, or operated at a negative ROAS. And then again, this structure enables us to just ensure we're spending a minimal amount of budget on these products. So as you can see there at the bottom, around about 10% of the budget could be allocated to these products, and also a higher ROAS target will be set across these products to ensure we're not operating at a loss across this product set. Cool. So in the next section, just want to touch on testing and optimization. So although PMax is highly reliant on automation, Google's AI, smart bidding, it is still extremely important to incorporate different methods of testing. We can't just rely on automation to improve performance for us. So it's important that we're still adding that manual touch to PMax, trying to make those incremental gains. So in terms of some test ideas, I'll run across in the next slide, but the first test initially might actually be running PMax in the first place. If you head to experiments within a PMax campaign, you can actually set up a PMax campaign yourself to run alongside your existing standard shopping campaign. So this will give you the insight into whether you want to explore that more. That's a good place to start if you don't currently have PMax set up. If you do currently have PMax set up, testing may be more complex in terms of, for example, testing the different and more advanced PMax structures that we've just ran through. On this next slide, I've just highlighted some quite simply listed some ideas that you could potentially look to test for your business. So this could be as simple as running an ad copy or landing page test, as you would do for your search keyword search campaigns, for example. So simply removing assets such as headlines or descriptions that aren't performing or getting the exposure being favored by Google. And then similarly for landing page tests, just testing different landing pages across your Performance Max activity, seeing what is the most effective final URL for your customers. Audience signals, I think, are also a good one to test. So as part of Performance Max, you can have, it's a bit different to search campaigns or shopping campaigns in that you provide signals rather than strict set audiences, as you would with your search campaigns, for example. With Performance Max, you provide a number of signals. So this could be that consumers have visited certain websites. So that could be your competitor websites, for example. They've visited your site in the last number of days, or they're in certain similar or in-market audiences. Performance Max, it does stipulate, however, when you set these audience signals up, that Google's algorithm can expand beyond them. So it's not a strict audience. It just gives Google's machine learning a basis for them to work off. But changing these around, testing them. When you initially set up Performance Max, it's good to be quite strict with these audience signals. So things like added in segments for your recent converters, website visitors. Google will initially try to go after them first, and then you can add in more broader targeting signals. So for example, I mentioned like in market, so people who are interested in items that might be related to your product, for example. This is a bit of a broader test, so that's something to worth bearing in mind. Final URL expansion. So this is an option that's available within Performance Max. You can actually turn it on or off, and it essentially enables Performance Max to utilize an index of all the potential landing pages on your website and select the page that it feels will be most relevant, that matches that particular user search intent. If you were to turn this off, it would just send all of the traffic to the final URL you've provided. So that's a good potential test. We're actually running this at the minute to see what impact that has, and if Google's kind of algorithm can beat us setting a manual final URL. And then finally, if we flick to the next slide, I've actually got a case study of this brand exclusion test that we've ran for some of our clients. So I can run you through this as an actual case study. So when you set up a Performance Max campaign, one thing that's definitely needed to be bear in mind is that brand searches are included as standard within Performance Max, unless they're added as a negative keyword or a shared negative keyword list across the campaign. So what this means is that this can often lead to overinflated PMax results, with people searching for your brand. Obviously, 9 times out of 10, you would want them to come through your dedicated brand search campaign, or even through your organic SEO results. This is something we kind of wanted to test. The theory was that we wanted to test removing this from our PMax campaign and seeing the effect that had on not only our PMax campaign, but also our brand campaign, which we wanted, obviously, people searching for our brand name to go through. We ran this test across one campaign initially. It's good to be quite cautious when running big tests like this across PMax, just in case of adverse results. We don't want to run it across the entire account straight away. It's good to get some results initially before rolling it out to the wider account. So in terms of the findings for the overall account, this is not just for the PMax campaign, but we saw conversions increase by 36%, revenue increased by 29%, and ROAS increased by 13%. But I think more importantly to us, we actually proved the hypothesis that we saw our brand revenue split increase from 65 to 71% during the time we ran this test, whilst revenue that had come from brand searches across PMax reduced from 35 to 29%. So the next step, once we'd concluded this test, was to apply the shared negative keyword list containing our brand name across all of our remaining PMax campaigns, and we continue to monitor performance. Something we actually adopt as an agency, just to ensure we keep track of all tests we run, adding them to our testing framework, keeping a log of everything we run across not only PMax, but also all the tests we run across all our other activity within the account, just keeping a log of what we're testing and why, our hypothesis for the test, and then we follow this up once the test is concluded with our results and also next steps, whether that's rolling out the test to further campaigns or reverting back to what we were running previously if the test hasn't been a success. This makes it easier, not only for myself to keep a record of the tests we're running, but also to kind of keep track of the tests we've run in the past and even provide ideas for more tests moving forward. Excuse me. Something else we found really beneficial to us and our clients is a PMax insight script. So this is more about optimizing the campaign rather than testing, but it can also provide ideas for testing. So it's been really useful in that respect. So much like Smart Shopping was, Performance Max it operates almost as a black box. So whilst you are able to see results on top performing audiences or top line results, we don't always receive that really granular data that we could kind of use to reach conclusive results. the capabilities were quite limited to begin with. Now that PMax has been out, I think almost a year now, the reporting capabilities are improving, but they can still be quite limited. So something that we implement for all of our clients at RGA is Performance Max Insight script. This is courtesy of Mike Rose at Web Savvy. We implement this for all of our clients, as I mentioned, and it gives us additional insights that are not currently available within Google Ads. Gives us a breakdown into where our PMax budget is being spent, so the split between those search campaigns, display, shopping, discovery, as I mentioned before, and also the performance for each of those different channels. And then these insights then allow us to further optimize our Performance Max campaigns and improve our account by making changes to our structure, campaign types, or budgets based on this additional information. This is just a quick example of some of the insights we're able to gain from this script. So 2 examples there. So firstly, the example on the left could potentially uncover reasons behind poor performance for us. As we can see on the slide, there's an unhealthy distribution to spend. The vast majority of the Performance Max budget is being allocated to YouTube. So if we're able to implement this and we know that our budget isn't being spent on search campaigns or shopping, for example, we can then act by potentially creating a separate dedicated YouTube campaign to take back control, and then move our Performance Max campaign more in favor of the search and shopping campaigns, which we are likely to be performing more effectively. In the second example, this is the opposite of that. So the majority of spend is being focused on shopping, with the rest being made up by search keywords. As you can see, no budget is being spent in this example on video advertising or display. So on the back of this gives us the insights that we could potentially look to run a separate video or display campaign in addition to our PMax campaign, because we know this PMax campaign isn't touching those areas, and we could potentially be increasing our brand awareness or driving incremental customers through that those additional channels. And then finally, just to wrap up, just some final considerations when running Performance Max is that there isn't a one-size-fits-all approach to conquering PMax campaigns. Each account is unique. Every business will have different goals, different targets, different product sets, for example. So yeah, these best practices may need a bit of tailoring to fit your brand's individual needs. So it's therefore important to assess the relevance and potential effectiveness of what we've discussed today in regards to your own business. Yeah, we definitely recommend continuous experimentation with Google Ads PMax. Not only strategies, but also structures, activity. It's still very, very new in the world of PPC and paid search. So yeah, the best way to learn what works for your unique business is to set Performance Max up and just continue to optimize and test and find out what works best for your business.
Great, thanks, Elliot. That was really, really interesting, really informative, and hopefully something that everyone watching here can go away, have a look in their own ad accounts and see how PMax is currently set up and what they can do to improve their performance. We've finished just on the nick of 30 minutes, so unfortunately we don't have time for any questions. But as I say, if any have come through, we are going to come back to you, and I'll be following up with everyone that registered anyway. So if you do think of anything after we've come away, then please just let us know, and we'll make sure that Elliot comes back with some information for anything that you might have. Thanks all for watching. Keep an eye out for the announcement of our next luxury e-commerce webinar, and I hope to see you all again soon.